So welcome to this Cambridge Marketing College webinar. This is the future of marketing planning, but not as we've known it before. This is the future of marketing planning with AI. Now, I'm not here to completely and utterly endorse AI and say it's going to take over everything, but there is definitely 100% a significant part that AI can now play in all of our marketing planning activities, whether it's a project, whether it is a brand development, a new product launch, or a campaign. So we are going to be covering, as we go through this session, all the different forms of marketing planning and how AI can be embedded in both your thinking and the practical day-to-day activities that go into marketing planning. And what we're going to do here is look at all kind of levels from a sort of junior, more tactical approach to this, all the way through to a more senior strategic level. Because AI, at every single point in this journey, whether you are doing something very tactical or something a lot more strategic, can really help to sharpen your decision making. It can accelerate delivery, and it can really introduce some kind of smarter ways of doing business. And that really is what we're here to focus on, is where can we get the best value, the most value from using AI and embedding it in both our thinking, but also the practical day-to-day stuff that we do. I'm really excited by this. I think there is almost a game-changing opportunity here if you choose to embrace it. But the trick is not to get carried away by the hype. The trick is not to get carried away and think that it can do everything for you. You are still in charge. Okay, so this is almost like having a new assistant. So this is a marketing planning assistant that's going to be literally sitting by your side, able to help you with every single step in the journey, every part of the process that you're doing, and really facilitate and enable speed, efficiency, accuracy, and some real depth that us as mere humans probably could only dream about. So this is why marketing planning really does need to change. I mean, traditional planning is typically, and you'll know this if you've ever done any traditional marketing planning or run specific campaigns with an old style model. It's very linear, it's very slow, it's quite retrospective. It's almost you have to wait to the end, see the results before you actually know what happened. This is different because AI is going to introduce for you real-time adaptation. So you're going to be really fleet of foot. You're going to be able to adapt and adjust as the project or as the plan takes shape and actually rolls out. You're not going to have to just wait to the end. You're going to also see predictive insight. So you're going to get a flavor of potential outcomes before you start. Now, how powerful is that? I mean, rather than having to wait for a week or even months after the event and then look back and think, okay, how did it go? We're going to be able to actually predict before we start the most likely outcomes. And by doing those two things, real-time adaptation and predictive insight from the get-go, we are going to be able to accelerate everything. We're going to be able to do things much more accurately, and we're going to have a real grasp on actually what is going on. So rather than just going into something and really not knowing where we're going, really, in reality, you might have planned it, but you don't necessarily know you're going to get there. This is going to enable you to be very, very, very much in control, if you like. So to stay relevant, marketers must blend human strategy with this so-called machine intelligence. Now, that's not to say it's going to do it all for you. I'm going to keep reiterating that because it's really important. You are still here to give your humanness to this approach and to this plan and to this activity. But the machine intelligence, the AI, the artificial intelligence, or now I'm kind of calling it hybrid intelligence because it's the best of both worlds. It's what you can bring to it, but it's also what the machines can actually, enable as well. Is if we do that, we're going to see this really powerful blend. So we're going to give the best of ourselves and what we as humans have to offer. And then our agents, our assistants, whatever you want to call them, the AIs are going to give the best of what they have to offer. And that hybrid blend is where the power comes from. So we're going to get into some of the details about what that really means in practice as we go through this. So we're going to see three key shifts in AI-driven marketing planning in the coming months, and this is going to roll out for pretty much everybody in the coming years. But the fact you're here listening to this and we're here sharing this today, the fact is you can now start to really, really grasp this opportunity. If you choose to, you don't have to do it this way, but there's a huge opportunity of just getting smarter, getting sharper, getting tighter with what you do. So you're going to be able to produce a lot more in a lot less time and a lot more efficiently and accurately. And that's obviously, a win-win-win all round. So we're going to move from fixed to flexible plans. So we're going to see rapid iteration, so changes that'll happen much more quickly than these long kind of planning timelines that we always had to work to. We're going to move from volume to value. This one's important because whilst we can speed things up, we want to make sure we're speeding up the right things. So whilst we can do things more efficiently, we need to make sure we're doing things more efficiently that are the right things to be doing more efficiently. So we're going to look at quality and precision over kind of blanket outreach, for example, if you were doing a campaign and running your marketing planning for a campaign. So rather than just saying, hey, we can do loads more, and because we've got AI, we can publish loads more content and schedule this, this, and this, and this, it's not about the volume. This is much more about laser targeted precision. This is about actually getting to the right people. And of course, there's a huge value in that. We know that. I'm kind of telling you something you already know, but it's really important to remember that. And for me, the third one is the key, moving from guesswork to insight. So, with all of this stuff, the more we use AI, the more we're going to be data driven. We're going to be driven by evidence. And the models that we're going to be using, driven by evidence, are going to drive our decision making in a much more accurate way. So, our level of confidence in going down route A versus route B is going to be so much stronger, so much tighter. And we're going to be able to talk really confidently that, look, we've got this evidence, we've worked with AI to kind of create this model here, which is going to work faster, it's going to be more targeted, and we're going to get there quicker. And all of that is going to come together in this really powerful new context using AI. So what I'm kind of saying here in a very roundabout way, but I wanted to give you a little bit of theory before we kind of properly get started, is to really think when we're going through all these tools. I've got a few tools to share with you in just a moment. But what I want you to be thinking about here, and this is a little bit of a new way to think about this stuff, is can I have AI kind of almost sitting in on my meetings? Can I, as I'm thinking about something or I'm faced with a brief or a challenge for a project or a campaign, so I need to plan it out, doing some proper marketing planning, can I just imagine that AI is there by my side at all points? So I might choose not to use it at certain points because either I know what I'm doing or I've just got a great framework and a template to do it. So I just want to stick with that. So you're not forced to use AI all the time, but I'd like you to kind of think about almost introducing and bringing AI to your meetings. So if you're working with colleagues, you've got a team meeting or whatever, bring AI into the meeting. Okay, so that's the kind of now this default setting because AI will be able to sit there and listen and it'll be able to contribute, knowing the conversation, getting all those little nuances of, well, he said this, she said that, and I want to do this, and this is what we had before. And it will be able to assimilate that at a absolutely breathtakingly quick speed. So it'll kind of jump on board in the project very, very quickly, and it'll be able to contribute from the get-go. So that's what I want you to think about when we go into the detail now is can I have AI sat there in the meeting? Can I have AI sat there by my side as I'm doing all of these things? And then if there are gaps, either in my personal human knowledge, or if there are gaps where actually we don't have any resource, are those points in this planning process, this thing from getting from A to B, where AI could just jump in and say, yeah, I'll fix that for you, or yeah, I can contribute to that. Because that's to me where this value comes. And if it's always invited to the meetings, and if it's always by your side, it can do it instantly for you. So that's just a kind of a mindset to have now with this stuff. So let's see where this is going to kind of fit. So strategic frameworks for AI enabled planning. So there are many, many cycles. You can search out, planning models and marketing operation models and things like that. But basically, we see a typical flow of activity when we're doing marketing planning. A big one, which we will mention in a minute, is SOSTAC. Most of you will know SOSTAC. Situation analysis, objectives, strategy, tactics, action plan, control. PR Smith's sort of very famed sort of planning model. So that one is one like this, and we can use AI in that. This is the AI enhanced planning cycle from McKinsey. And it's basically talking about how you can sort of go through some phases of planning. So discovery, design, deployment, diagnostics. And there's a part that AI can play. So in discovery, for example, you can use AI to gain market intelligence. Send it off as an agent to just go and do a deep dive into a market or into a particular customer buying pattern or whatever it happens to be. Get some market intelligence. You don't have to do it. Get the AI to do it. So there's a role for AI at discovery. Design step, there's a role for AI here to co-develop strategy with the AI tools. So if you're not already talking to AI, so you probably have a favorite one, could be GPT, could be Copilot, could be Gemini, whatever your favorite tool is, start talking to it and co-develop, co-create strategy. So test out ideas that you've got, start to design it with the AI involved. Because as soon as you get into conversation, as you know, AI doesn't forget. So AI will remember those conversations and bring back all the little touch points, the little checklists, the little nuances at every point in the journey with it. Deployment stage, you can automate and optimize in real time. I'm going to come on to that more when we start talking about tools, but just know that if you don't necessarily have a huge amount of experience in marketing planning for campaign or project, product launch, whatever it is, you can start to use AI in real time to infill your, let's say, weaknesses, but the areas where you're not particularly skilled or particularly experienced. AI can do that for you. And it can optimize this in real time. So you can actually be performing as a world-class project manager or world-class planner without actually being that because you've got AI there supporting it. How exciting is this? You can really punch above your weight. I know because I am doing this stuff. So I know it actually works. And then the fourth step in this AI enhanced planning cycle is diagnostics. You're probably aware already that you can measure and refine everything you're doing using AI-driven analytics. Plug the data in, plug the report in, put in some of the stuff that is the evidence of how this project is taking shape. And AI will then come back and say, well, okay, here's some room for improvement. Here are some of the priorities you could focus on if you're looking to get that objective ticked. So there's a lot of places and a lot of ways that you can start to do this. It gets really interesting when you start to think, oh, okay. So AI has many, many roles. So when Neil says, okay, let's think of it as an assistant, maybe it's assistant plural. So maybe I have an assistant here at the start of the development of this project, and maybe I have one that helps me midterm, and maybe I have one at the end that helps me. And of course, if you then start to apply AI to maybe the stages of SOSTAC or race frameworks, whichever ones you're doing, and these are some of the traditional, most popular ones, you can be using maybe different AI tools or different AI assistants at different phases of the planning model. So in SOSTAC, for example, situation analysis, well, we've just mentioned it there, doing the market intelligence or market research using a suitable AI tool. I mean, for me, my go-to is Perplexity. That is my favorite one for doing deep research. But I would also potentially use the agent feature now within ChatGPT. I mean, they can go off and do this stuff whilst you're planning other things. And 15, 20 minutes later, they come back with your situation analysis nicely prioritized for you. So a real enabler to speed up the accuracy and the rate of development of your project. If you're using SOSTAC, you can use, in the objective setting, you can use predictive goal setting. So rather than just thinking, okay, here's my goals, because these were set by my line manager, you can start to use AI to say, well, okay, let's do some predictive stuff and see actually whether these are the right goals. Maybe AI could come in with some better goals that are better for the business, better for my project, and actually more achievable. So start to use AI to kind of critique the questions that you're asking, critique what you've been briefed to do. There's an interesting one, because if you can gather evidence that says, okay, line manager, I can do this, but look what I've kind of created here or co-created with AI in brackets. This is actually potentially an even better solution. So why don't we actually try it this way? So you're going to then be challenging and critiquing things that you're set. There's a whole new way of working, added value at every step. In tactics, the T in SOSTAC, I mean, you can obviously optimize content and the channel mix and get a couple of tools for you to look at there a little bit later. We know that probably a lot of us are using it for content creation and optimization already. But certainly in the control C at the end of the SOSTAC framework, real-time dashboards. AI is just brilliant for real-time reporting. And of course, if you're rolling out a campaign, particularly, but any kind of project as a marketer, you want to know whether things are working in real time. You don't really, as I said earlier, want to be waiting to the end of the project to see whether it worked, because that probably, most likely, is too late. So rather know what's going on in real time. So let's get into some of the tools, some of the things that you can actually play with here. So I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because you can decide to sort of head off and research these in a little bit more detail. But basically, what you're going to probably need are maybe one or two of these tools to begin to embed AI within your project planning. So one that you can use for predictive trend forecasting is Delphi. This identifies emerging market and behavioral trends, and often us marketers can use it to forecast campaign themes and timing. Many examples on the Delphi website of organizations and brands who are using this to really get competitive edge. And that is the key here, because if you can get into market quicker, if you can identify where the real priorities are to serve market, you're just going to be providing value just by pointing yourself in the right direction. So that can be a really good one at the front end of what you're needing to do. A little bit deeper into the planning process, Notion AI is a good one for collaborative campaign planning. This will use integrated project workspaces. And of course, it's AI enabled. So therefore, you're going to be able to see and critique all of the activities that as maybe a broader team you're doing. And it's going to suggest to you campaign timelines, tasks, and maybe content ideas based on goals. So it's going to be quite proactive if you enable it and give it a chance to do that. And again, this proactivity is going to speed things up. So I would certainly recommend you have a look at that one as a little tool if you're needing to do collaboration and work with others. If you're looking to take maybe a campaign to market, Crystal Nose is a good one, which is a personality AI for buyer targeting. Again, there are many options available too. These are just a sprinkling of some that you might want to go and research. This one analyzes publicly available data and looks to identify communication styles and likely objections. So when I talk about market intelligence and doing deep dives, this is absolutely it. So rather than you creating outputs, if your project is a campaign, for example, this is going to help you to create personas and messaging aligned to real world behaviors rather than internal assumptions. Because often, and back in the day, we had to just kind of make it up, hope it would stick, and see whether some audiences would resonate with our marketing messages. Now we can reverse engineer. So with something like Crystal Knows, we can actually go out and we can find out what the sentiment is, what the kind of conversations are, what the actual real world behaviors and engagements are, and we can reverse engineer back and make sure our messages are pointed to serve those kinds of conversations. And of course, if you're looking to do some kind of relationship nurturing. And particularly if you're in a B2B environment, this enables you then to get very, very close to maybe quite a broad, different range of customers, maybe even within one account. So you can really fine tune those messages and get really close to the people that you're targeting. If you want to go a little bit more deeply into that kind of content creation, if your marketing planning is around campaigns, and I guess for a lot of you it will be, undoubtedly a lot of us marketers are all about the output, not just the planning. Is we've got to create campaigns and promotions and things. So a really good one for content planning, AI enabled, is writer.com. This one really goes deep into tone of voice, reading level, and also compliance rules at scale. So if you have brand guidelines, if you have particular restrictions on the kind of content that you're able to write, be it technical or a little bit more descriptive, then this will allow you to build what we would call modular content plans across different channels. So you can get really efficient and really effective. Again, you're seeing here this whole idea of personalization. So personalization, I think a lot of people think, oh, it comes at the end where it's the individual that we're targeting. But actually, personalization also starts in-house, where you can start to build a different kind of language set, if you like, for different channels of communication to serve different audiences. So it can kind of start very much in-house as you start to personalize for the different targets that you have. And particularly if you're in an industry here that is maybe highly regulated, so legal, financial, telecoms, pharmaceutical, government, these are industries and sectors that are very regulated in terms of what they can and can't say. So writer.com enables you to put in those kind of guidelines or those restrictions around your terminology and the subject matter that you can talk about, and enables then the outputs to be almost double checked, because you might have a tech team who are going to check your content, but this enables you to get it right first time in theory, which is really exciting. So some of those tools are going to help you with AI. And of course, all of these are AI driven. So they're not just there as your standard kind of dashboards and scheduling tools. They are there to very much work interactively with you. And so once you get those kind of things set up, and you might just choose one, you might begin with one and think, okay, we'll have a little play with that and see if we can kind of figure out how it's different using an AI enabled tool over maybe something we've got that is a little bit more traditional. So, your traditional scheduling tools or something like HubSpot or MailChimp. And you can argue, well, those do have a bit of AI in them, but these are AI first tools. So they're starting with AI and then putting the functionality in rather than the traditional tools that were there, traditionally, as they've been around for quite a long time, and are now enabling some AI functionality. These tools are AI first. So you'll see they're subtly different, but they might work for you. If it's not quite yet ready for you, then fine. But at least you're aware that they're there and you can play with them and adapt them. But one thing I would really encourage you to do is very much think of your AI tools as well around those that can help you to really figure out and not just take as a given your KPIs. So a lot of the time when we work with our key performance indicators as to how our project or our campaign is going to roll out, and we think, well, okay, a KPI could be the amount of engagement we get maybe with our target audience as a result of doing something. That could be a KPI. And of course, you'll go more deeply to get it more precise than that, but I'm just talking generally here. Now, that may or may not be appropriate, but you'll figure out if you can go deeper and get a more AI nuanced one that gives you much more enhancement, I guess, by really asking the AIs, okay, if impressions or click-through rates or downloads or, as I said, engagement at a very high level is a KPI, because it kind of gives you an indicator of how your campaign or project is going. An AI enhanced one is going to go that next step deeper. And that'll give you so much more power in your decision making. So some things that AI can then enable and come back with data for, which you can't see, by the way, as a human, because you just wouldn't be able to figure it out, is something like cost per predicted conversion or forecasted revenue lift if we go down path A versus path B. something like real-time engagement velocity. So the speed with which people engage, not just the fact they do, but actually when do they engage? Is it after a certain thing that we do? Do we get more engagement or less engagement? Those KPIs could be a game changer. And AI influenced lead scores, for example. So it can actually then track in real time that customer or prospect A is better than prospect B because of their behavior, because of the velocity with which they engaged, because of then the click through they did to a certain point in their journey was better than customer B or better than customer C. They'll identify this. You won't see this because it's clearly going to be happening at scale, but the AI can because of its processing power, because of its ability to do what we call multivariate testing. So it can look at multiple variables and come back with, well, hey, Neil, you can't see this because you're just human. But look, I've spotted there's a trend going on here between that data point, and look, this one over here. And you look at it and you think, how on earth did it know that? But actually, yeah, makes sense. So things will materialize and come out of this if you can start to talk to your AI. And it is just about talking to it. If you give it your KPIs and say, look, here's my goals. Can you improve these goals with me? Am I missing something? Could I achieve more? You'll get into that conversation. And then when you've had that conversation, say, look, here are my KPIs. These are typically the things I use as indicators to indicate how I'm progressing towards achieving those goals. Now we've got this kind of new set that you've worked with me and co-created with me, AI. Are there better KPIs? Are there more appropriate ones? Can we reinvent these too? So what you're doing is you're using your AI to continuously improve at every step. That's what you're doing. And then you can design metrics using AI. So something like Peak AI, which is a no code, fortunately, not particularly for me, not a great coder. So, this is a no code predictive analytics tool for marketers. This one will forecast conversion probability and churn. You can simulate different campaign approaches and optimize before you launch them. So, you can actually use this with this predictive metrics to set realistic and responsive goals rather than just thinking, okay, well, we always measure this stuff and we're always interested as a team to know how we did on that. This thing will actually do predictive analytics to tell you maybe if there's something better that you could be tracking. So try that. Peak AI is quite an interesting one there. And when I say no code, it basically means you can design it without using code by prompting. So you can kind of customize it as a tool to almost be like an app for yourself that will actually work within your organization, customize and translate it to your needs. So your version of Peak AI, others are available, as a no-code tool will be very different to my version of it because of our conversations and because of the way that we will customize our own versions of it. And again, there's another power of using AI. So, so exciting because it means you get your version, I get mine. And of course, then from a competitive angle, the more you prompt, the more you work with it, the better you get. It's not a generic vanilla flavor like your competitors are using. You're moving away from your competitors in your market because you're translating and getting a bespoke version using these kinds of tools. It's exciting, isn't it? Hope you're feeling this because I certainly am. The more I kind of talk about these topics, the more I kind of feel wow and kind of wow again. It's really, really good stuff, this. And what you'll be able to do if you do that, and again, I'm saying start small. So maybe with one tool, just get to know it, see how it feels, get into those conversations with it, and then you can start to replicate with other tools in other parts of your project, other parts of your plan. But of course, you could, in theory, in time, align your KPIs and your AIs along with each of your customer journey stages. So it might be that you use AI to assign appropriate and maybe different key performance indicators to different touch points in your customer journey. So at the awareness stage, you might choose a different set of KPIs, could be predicted reach by segment. maybe at the consideration stage, just before conversion. You might be using AI and KPIs to maybe assess the likelihood to convert by the content type that they've engaged with as a prospect, or the flow that they've had through the journey that you've choreographed. Maybe based on things that certain people look at, they have a higher likelihood to convert. So simple things like this, which when you start to think about it, is like, oh, wow. So does that mean then that AI could highlight, almost give us an early warning flag and kind of wave this flag right in front of us if somebody comes onto our website through a certain pathway through social media, they land on a particular page and then they go through our website in a particular direction, and AI has already spotted that when people do this in this particular route, they're the most likely ones to buy or convert. Wouldn't it be amazing to know that? Because is there an intervention that we could have? So we almost join them en route and say, hey, anything I can help you with? Well, this is coming. This is the hyper personalization that a lot of marketers now are waking up to because AI enables it. And of course, at the purchase stage, forecasted lead value. It might be that those people who are being flagged by AI as most likely to buy, you can also prioritize those based on a forecasted value of their potential purchase decision. So it could be that out of the 100 people that AI flags up as, look, they've come in through this route and they've engaged with this content, and look, those have posted a comment too, these are the ones most likely to buy. Then AI, in theory, can also then prioritize those and say, and look, these guys at the top of the list are going to be the highest value because of the behaviors they've shown through these stages of the journey, how long they spent on that page, what they did, what they clicked on, what they were looking at. All of this stuff is now possible. This is not future, this is here today. So even at the retention stage, you imagine how you could do this. If you talk to your AIs and say, look, I really want to get professionally intimate with my customers and understand actually based on their behaviors and their use of our product or service, the timescales that they use it in, when they do it, how they use it. Are we going to be able to identify our most loyal customers as a result of watching their behavior? And AI can then translate that into, well, yeah, of course, Neil, of course it can. Oh, by the way, here are your top five. Do you want me to develop a loyalty scheme specifically for them because they look like your VIPs? I'm going to say yes, of course. And then, of course, AI can then go off and maybe work with one of its little AI assistants to create some loyalty campaigns for you. So this is what I mean when I say at every step of the journey as a co-creator of the value. So you're going to be able to now, as you're building this plan and using this kind of tactical execution with AI, you're going to be able to use your AI to help you answer everything that you are starting to wake up to as an opportunity. Because it's only really when you stop and reflect and think about where could I improve what I do, that you start to then think, oh, yeah, okay, well, AI could come in and do that, couldn't it? There are many, many different ways you can do this. And in fact, I would probably guess, and this is guess, but guess that currently now there are at least one, if not multitude of tools for every single thing that you or I could actually think of as solving a problem or a bottleneck or maybe improving something in our marketing processes. I will confidently say there won't be a gap. As I was doing the research for this webinar, and thinking, okay, I want a tool to summarize data sets and recommend strategy focus. Okay, Akaio. Okay, there's one. And there'll be others too. If I want to combine sort of AI tasks to generate project workflows and dependencies, okay, TaskAid AI, there's another one. So, whatever you can think of, get your favorite AI, GPT, Copilot, Gemini, to go off and do a search for a suitable tool. You can use the ones I've recommended here or just highlighted here, but you can also get it to go off and actually find the one that will solve your problem for the marketing planning that you want to do. If it's something like, say, budgeting, resource allocation, you can go actually beyond just purely the marketing stream of activity. Planful is a good one. which will use historic campaign data to predict ROI by channel, for example. And this will help you to allocate your resources and your time and your energies, maybe a market spend as well. And it'll help you then to really work more effectively across paid, owned, and earned media. So if you've got multi-channel marketing channels going on, well, something like Planful will enable you using AI, of course, it's AI first, to actually get more effective. And maybe you don't put all your budget across all these various channels. Maybe you hone in on one because it just looks like, from the AI's perspective, it's the one that outperforms the others. So constantly reiterating in what you're doing. And if you want some help with your channel planning, there are tools out there that are going to help you to generate and test ad variations across different social platforms, track which creative and targeting combinations perform best, multivariate analysis of multiple channel marketing. I mean, honestly, this stuff is just crazy, isn't it, when you stop and think about it? Anything that you need help with, there is no longer an excuse that says, oh, I can't do it because I don't really understand how to run that. Well, AI can help you. It can teach you. It can do it for you. You just got to identify the question that you want answered. That's the key. And if the question is, well, I don't know the question to ask, well, AI can help with that too. It is there to help and solve every single thing. And not just for us. I mean, if we're running campaigns or we're running marketing plans or projects, then we will be collaborating and delivering, often in cross-functional teams, working with sales, working with customer service. So if you want to integrate AI workflows for real-time task prioritization across teams beyond marketing, ClickUp AI or Motion are great ones for doing that, because as AI embedded, they will be reassigning tasks based on bandwidth and resource. They're going to highlight any blockers. They'll spot stuff that is unlikely to happen before you'd spot it as a project manager. Any project manager who is, shunning and sort of saying that AI, or no, no, I don't want to be using that, is missing a trick, because this gets you to the problem before the problem even surfaces. You don't have to wait till something happens before you solve it. You can solve it in advance. And often now, I'm thinking things like Motion are going to be actually pre-solving it, because they're going to actually nip an issue in the bud and actually give you an alternative that's going to work before you've even identified it as a challenge, so that you can ask them and brief them to do that as you go. And so this alignment of, sales, product, leadership, customer support is going to enable you using AI to translate inputs and outputs based on everybody else's business goals, because we're not always aligned. I mean, you think with your sales teams, sometimes they're working tactically, you're working strategically, you're about brand development, they're about this month's sales. So if that is the case, get AI to help you within the plan to align short-term and long-term strategic and tactical sales and marketing. And then you can create dashboards that show the projected impact, not just the activity, but show how that alignment is working for the betterment of the business overall, not just in silos. This stuff's really, really interesting. I mean, I just kind of think that without this, it's almost like we're running semi-naked through our marketing activities. I want to be fully powered and fully dressed here. I think this is the way to kind of view this. And generative planning meets, a really kind of interesting point when you can start to think of this not just with one plan or one project, but you can actually be doing this across multiple projects, multiple campaigns, multiple plans. So if you start to use some AI tools that will enable you to maybe cross-reference individual projects, so not just thinking about the one project you're running, but maybe you're doing certain campaigns for a particular product or a particular channel or market, pointing in one direction, you've got another one running over there, pointing in a different direction. Ask your AI to go and take an overview. Maybe it comes in and does a strategic analysis of, well, okay, which one is performing best and why? And what can I do to maybe bring the others up to the same level? Again, another set of questions that enable you to just get closer and closer and more accurate in what you do. I said at the start of this, one of the key things here is to be looking at quality rather than just volume. And what you're able to do with AI Insight is to set realistic output goals and maintain really a high level of quality as you start to potentially in the future scale this stuff up. So you can do a lot of really accurate work and really prioritize what you're doing at a scale of one. So focus on one project, maybe one channel, maybe one plan, maybe one campaign. And as you start to create this almost best practice, then you can start to think, well, okay, without losing any of the quality that we've got there, AI, can you help me to actually now multiply this by 10? Because I've got these 10 different customer personas I need to serve. I've got these 10 different markets that I need to be, basically hyper personalizing the content to. Can we do that, please? Can you take the best practice that we've created here in this plan and can you now replicate it across everything else? And as a human, you're going to be thinking, wow, to 10x that, I'm going to need some resources. AI doesn't think in the way we do. It'll look at it and it'll say, yeah, of course I can, Neil. When do you need that by? 10 minutes time? And it will have done it before you even think, wow, this is incredible. It'll have already created it. So don't be limited when you're thinking about this stuff by your humanness. And when it comes to humanness, one of the key things here is this concept of real-time feedback. This is what you get when you're talking to, when you're talking with, when you're co-creating with your AI. You've got to really think differently. When I say about bringing AI to the meeting, having AI as a feedback loop, always there, always listening, always able and willing to give you some support or come up with new ideas or prioritize for you. Remember that AI doesn't think how we do. It's not limited by a thought process. It's not boundaried by a memory failure or limit that we have or distractions. I'm not saying AI is perfect, okay? I'm not saying it is going to be absolutely not hallucinating, it's going to be 100% accurate. But versus a human doing all of these things, it is leaps and bounds ahead in every single sense. And I genuinely believe that. I really do. But we've got to think differently with it. It is not time bound like we are. So that deep research that I talked about, it can do it almost instantly, or at least within 15 to 20 minutes, something that would take us a day or two. It's not bound by not being able to do more than one thing at a time. You might think you can multitask. You can't, not really. Humans can't genuinely do that. They believe they can, but they can't. Whereas AI can genuinely. So we need to be tasking it with things that are way beyond the realms of thinking and behavior and time that we would normally restrict ourselves by. And so, if we want to really be doing sort of multiple things and really scaling up our resource, then AI is the answer. And particularly in this real time feedback loop. So, Relevance AI, for example, is another tool that will identify campaign messages that resonate in real time, and it will tag those and cluster those to improve content direction mid-campaign. So it'll flag up stuff to you that says, look, this stuff is kind of working, but it's this bit compared to this bit that isn't working. So here's now a draft post that you can put out onto socials, which takes the best of that post and the best of this one. And I've actually kind of combined them. So we've now got an optimally performing one that you can send out next. And you say, oh, yeah, could we send that out? And it says, don't worry, Neil, I've already done that because I know this was the best time to send it out. So it's kind of enabling it and allowing it to do what it does. But think about real time. This whole AI concept is it's there in real time with you, but it's also there in real time to do the stuff that you no longer have to wait for. And this enables continuous planning cycles. It means that you don't have to move from a static calendar, but you can move now to a rolling plan. You don't have to be restrained by, well, I've got to get this project done or this plan delivered before I can move to the next one. Well, no, you don't actually, because AI can have concurrent plans running in parallel. If you haven't tried using ChatGPT in multiple tabs, doing different things all at once, you haven't had fun with it yet. This is a really good thing I've had. I've had GPT running at one point, running some content creation, some draft content creation off of a brief. I've had it doing deep research on a particular market related to that content. And I've had it creating then a content schedule for me on another tab. So three tabs running concurrently. And it didn't even notice, I don't think, that I'd asked it to do all three things in unison. It is quite breathtaking. So there's a lot of bandwidth there. There's a lot of resource. So what we don't want to hear ourselves saying is, I haven't got time. I'm too busy. I haven't got the budget. I haven't got the support. I haven't got the resources. Because the answer is, if you've got AI, you have. So we're moving now from kind of weekly review of kind of AI insights to refreshing creative to channels and segmentation in real time that's happening literally in parallel. So multiple projects running at multiple times that are not restrained by our simple single human perspective. So rethink how and what is possible and what you'd like to do. And it will retain potentially the quality in all of these activities because that's key. Again, we're not just creating this so we can create even more chaos in the amount of content that we throw into social media. That's not what I'm saying. I need to be very clear about that. This is about doing stuff at the highest quality we possibly can, but doing that at scale because that is possible too. So think about really how this stuff could play out. I mean, there are many ways that you can start to kind of almost build yourself a little internal case study. Got a couple of little case studies sort of here just to kind of share with you about how some of these tools can be talking to each other. As I say, you might have an overarching preferred one. For me, it's ChatGPT. I've got the Pro account now because it is just too valuable not to get it. Yes, you could argue it's expensive, but actually $200 a month currently, as I'm saying this, for having an assistant who is there working alongside me, even whilst I'm off doing other things. Actually, when you think about that, that is just crazy cost effective. Hopefully, OpenAI isn't listening to this and thinking, okay, we'll put the price up for him. But basically, that's really what we're saying is when you think about the output, it is just phenomenal. And that's got to be our mindset, not, oh, I can't really afford the budget for that. It's like, well, think about the ROI on that budget. It's an investment, it's not a cost anymore. But it is a cost if you haven't figured out how you're going to use them. So think about maybe a combination using Delphi AI for audience trend forecast, maybe modular content via Writer, maybe tracked predictive lead flow via Beacon AI, etc., etc. And then start to see if you can reduce planning time and improve forecast accuracy. So, just kind of figure out how these things can play in. And then maybe when you've got your examples of the tools you're choosing, maybe then put this in as a little kind of case study into your favorite AI and say, look, I want you to give me a likely outcome. Can you overwrite these numbers, please, and actually give me, my version of this? And we can actually talk together and co-create this thing because that could be really, really interesting and a very different way for it to kind of identify with you where the opportunity is. You might decide to do a campaign refresh. You decide, actually, we want to kind of really, really tighten up how we do campaign stuff. So we could use Notion AI to restructure our go-to-market launch. You can integrate, Funnel IO for daily reporting, and then maybe weekly content tests based on relevance AI feedback as it watches how people engage with the content. And then maybe start to then put a dashboard together that shows reduced media waste, maybe shortening decision cycles, these kinds of things. Think, what do I want to achieve here that I've never been able to do before? And if you aren't looking at these questions and thinking, well, I don't really know, Neil, well, then get AI to help you say, what could I achieve if I was to do these things? This is the point of this rethink. Because if you're very new to this stuff, and let's face it, most of us are, I'm not claiming that there's anybody really in the world at the moment who is an expert in doing this. We're all creating the playbook for ourselves. So use the AI to help co-create the opportunity. And so if you don't know some of these answers, say, look, this is what I'm thinking, improve it, please. Let's work together to improve it because I don't know what I don't know. So help me see and identify and reflect upon what I don't know. See what I mean about this constant rethinking of our approach? It's really, really key. So what should you do now? Let's kind of try and draw this one sort of full circle back round to, this being the future of marketing planning, but it starts today with AI if you choose for it to be. So what can you do? What can you do next as some steps? Well, I would say audit your current planning process. When you plan something, whatever that is, process map it out step by step. Think, well, what do we actually do? Who do we talk to? How do we kind of put a plan together? If you don't have a process, get AI to help you create a basic process and then you can audit that. Introduce one AI tool into your next planning cycle. So, whatever it is you need to do next to enable a plan to begin, or maybe a conversation to start, or maybe a team meeting to happen, build one AI enhanced tool into that cycle. And then build one AI enhanced KPI into your next dashboard. So as you start to kind of see the value coming through here, think, okay, well, let's see if I can use my AI to identify something that we've never known before that we don't really watch. But well, Neil said it can be in real time. He said it can be from any channel, it can be at any point in our journey for the customer, it can be across any of the tech that we're using. Okay, well, that one looks an interesting one. I'd like to know that. So, what would you like to know? What is curious for you? It doesn't have to be the right answer, but just something that will enable you to see how an AI enhanced KPI can make a fundamental difference in your reporting dashboard. And the fourth thing you can do is shift from the kind of sort of annual planning cycle or the kind of the quarterly or however frequently you do your marketing plans or your campaign planning and actually have that and think about it as a rolling plan informed by AI inputs. Because wouldn't it be cool that rather than just doing your planning at year end or quarter end or ready for the next kind of planning cycle, which is all about you, let's face it, you as a business, wouldn't it be super cool if you let your AIs constantly watch the market and actually did a planning cycle that started or that was ready when your AI reports there's an opportunity, there's a chance for you to steal a market lead, or there's a need in the market here, or the market in this particular sector isn't seeing much value. There's an opportunity. Now, wouldn't that be cool? So your planning cycles were aligned and adjusted to real time market dynamics rather than internal systems and processes. I think I might be talking to the strategists amongst the audience right here, right now, but think of that. How cool would that be? Again, reverse engineering backwards from the market. Have we ever done that before? No, I would say no. As a marketing industry, even we will say, oh, well, we're customer first. But we then look internally and think, okay, what can we do internally to then deliver to the market? We're not customer first. This would generally and genuinely be putting customer first because we'd be reverse engineering back using AI to then empower an AI plan to deliver the value that the customer needs in that moment, in that sector, hyper personalized, hyper targeted, and then monitored and measured in real time as a rolling plan amongst many. Because if we can do it there, we can do it over there, and we can do it over there too. So that's why I want you to be thinking about this, proving the concept once and then rolling this out over multiple times once you can get it. And a final reflection on this is that the future of marketing planning, genuinely, I absolutely believe, is flexible, it's data driven, and it is 100% AI enhanced. It really is. If after having considered this and reflected on this, you don't see a part for AI to play in your industry and for you as a marketer or as a business leader, then I think you've really missed the opportunity here because I cannot see a single place anywhere in any sector where this wouldn't add value. It is so incredibly powerful. And I personally believe that marketers who adapt now will deliver more value, they'll deliver it faster, and they'll deliver it with greater confidence. So good luck. See what you can do. Choose a tool, get talking, invite it to your next meeting, and start to play because this is genuinely the future of marketing planning with AI.